with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
Take my breath away and make it last forever, babe. Do it now or never, babe. Take my breath away.
All right, here we go. OverDrive off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, up on TSN 4, up on YouTube Live. Brian Hayes and Frankie Corrado in here this afternoon. How we doing?
I didn't know we were going to be wearing the exact same shirt today. I don't know if this is like a visual thing. Does someone need to change? I didn't catch a glimpse of you before, like Joe from the bridge was setting everything up, but here we are both wearing what I think are black identical T-shirts.
No, mine's Navy, so we're fine.
You're Navy?
Yeah,
okay.
We're fine. And I think it would be more – you're right. It would have to be addressed if it was like a really loud color, you know, or if we were both in like the same Tommy Bahamas shirt or something like that. But you know this show, man. Like, generally speaking, it's a lot of black on gray, you know.
Yeah.
Like Noodles is coming up. Noodles will be on in an hour. He'll have either black on. Yeah, he'll have black. I'm going to go with black. Black on black with a pinch of gray in there somewhere.
I'm going to say Noodles is gray. He's got something gray going on. But, dude, now that you mentioned Tommy Bahama, like, you've seen all those storefronts they have. They're everywhere at, like, malls all across the United States. Like, I've never seen anyone in those places. How are they still in business? That has to be a front for something.
No, I think it's a niche market, right? It's the guys who love a Tommy Bahamas, they're in there. Or they know what they've got, and they've got it online. You know, it's you'd be surprised. It's a lifestyle. I'm not personally living that lifestyle, but I have come across guys, a lot of times cocktails are involved. You know, they love boating or yachts, you know, if they can get there. I've seen them, a lot of bucket hats in that crowd.
Yeah.
You know, I know I'm profiling a little bit here, but it's like those really high-end stores where if you go into Yorkdale, ever since they've upgraded Yorkdale, and Yorkdale's always been a great mall, but now they've got that kind of side strip, right, with all the really five-star high-end stores, and there's way more security over there. Who's going in there? No one's going in. Like, who's just buying a $50,000 watch on a Tuesday? You know, just, hey, I was walking around. That's not a bad idea. Do you take cash? You know what I mean? But they're there. And really all they got to do is get one person, I would guess like a week, to buy something, and everyone's happy. And I think that's kind of what happens with Tommy Bahamas. People that go in, it's a catch and release. They know what they're looking for. They know the shade they want.
It's very fascinating stuff, man, because I take Tommy Bahama people to be the type that buy something and really take care of it for a long time, store it well. They have a whole trunk in their house full of, like, their cruise Tommy Bahama.
Yeah.
They have their dinner Tommy Bahama. They have their, like, out and about, and it's just they care for it. So I don't know how much repeat business they would be getting, because that's the clientele that I think they have.
You could be right. You could be right on that. We see the two of us know a lot about Tommy Bahamas that we really don't need, and it's not going to help society at all. But when Schneider was talking to the ump in the top of the seventh last night, because my initial thought, like everyone else was, they're calling a ruling on the scoreboard being wrong. You know, like that's what I thought was coming, that the Red Sox were claiming protest based on a malfunction of the scoreboard, because earlier in the inning, as you saw, Vladdy looked like he caught it. He didn't catch it. He had a force out at second. There was some confusion there. And it turns out John Schneider said after the game, it's actually Major League Baseball that runs the scoreboard. So it's not like it's some, Blue Jay employee. But that was my initial thought. And then once they finally kind of explained the whole thing, I find it very silly and unnecessary that the umpire isn't capable of calling it himself, knowing that the runner did not actually tag up. Mm-hmm. But because once you get to that conclusion, that it's actually the defending team that has to either touch the bag or tag the player in order for the ump to respond to it, it does actually make some sense, and it turns into a timing play. It's ridiculous. I'll say this. Major League Baseball is so lucky that Jays didn't blow that game last night. Like, Louis Varland gives up a double right off the bat. I'm like, he's going to blow another save here, and people are going to go nuts. The fact that the Jays held on to win it, it just becomes a footnote in history. But I was perplexed and then furious and, like, couldn't believe what was going on in the top of the 7th inning last night.
I couldn't imagine your viewing experience watching that, because you are a guy who is noted as wanting to have the human element and not have all these reviews, and like that took such a long time. And you're right, it becomes a timing thing because you have to tag the bag before the guy crosses home plate. Like, even today, I'm still trying to like decipher everything that could or should have been done. And Aaron Boone was talking about it. It's just it's a bizarre play, but more than the Jays not blowing that game, if that happened in a playoff game or a World Series, that would be crazy stuff, because this is not something that happens quite often. Like, I think the last time is over 10 years ago, and before that, maybe 20. Like, it's just not something that happens very often. So it's crazy that this it popped up out of nowhere in a Jays game.
Totally.
And what's even funnier is, you know, Aaron Boone's on a podcast talking about it, and like, hey, did you guys watch the Red Sox game? They kept referring to it as the Red Sox game. Like, all right, well, Jays are playing too.
I know, but listen, that's the history, right? Like, down there, and especially in New York and Boston, the Northeast of the U.S., they don't pay it. They wouldn't acknowledge the Orioles, and they've been around just as long. You know, like they're that's just the arrogance of New York and Boston. But what was crazy is, again, the fact that I guess there was a malfunction on the board, but the idea that both guys took off is absurd. Like, you know, in the end, again, the Red Sox lose, Jays end up winning, but the Sox still did themselves damage there. You know, like, that should have been a tag, you know, 2 outs, man on first base. Who knows what happens? Maybe the rest of the inning completely breaks out, and they end up winning that, and 2 runners take off on the same play is amateur hour. Like, and this is a team that plays at Fenway. Like, they barely have electricity at Fenway. You know, like
I know.
There's guys up there. It's like Augusta up there. They're putting, you know, numbers. There's a guy literally, you know,
the guy on stilts. There's a guy on stilts in the Green Monster going behind there with wooden numbers, putting them in there. And you know what's the crazy thing, though? Like, I feel like you can lose yourself in the game, right? Like, I've experienced this as well, where you're looking at the Jumbotron or something, you're like, I don't think that shot count is right, but whatever, you just roll with it because they're the guys doing the stats. And, you know, in baseball, you should have a count of 1 outs, 2 outs. Like, there should be a little more onus on you to not have to rely on the Jumbotron, even though it's MLB who's doing it. That could be anyone, and they could be having a glitch like that. You're right. It was amateur hour. They got away with it. They ended up getting a run, and luckily the Jays, you know, they escaped with another win, and all of a sudden they're putting it together a little bit here.
The Rangers won, you know, like you're right. They win last night, which is great, but they're still 3.5 back. They started the night 3.5 back of that third wild card. They're still 3.5 back, but they're now 6 games under 500. Nothing to write home about. But to their credit, they've been playing better. You know, they're leading the major leagues in wins when they only score 2 runs, you know, 2 or less runs, which is not surprising to anyone that's watched this team. They just are incapable of consistently breaking out offensively. But they have, you know, 6-4 in the last 10. They've played much better baseball. You know, Varland was bending in the 9th, but he didn't break. Rogers and Varland have been a great duo in the back end of the bullpen this year. They've been really, really good, and they were really good again last night. You know, Jamison Taillon leaves the game with a forearm issue. Hopefully that's not something to be overly concerned about. We'll see. Keegan Matheson coming up from the park a little bit later this afternoon, but it was a wild scene. Like, it was a really, really – and you're right. You know, when in doubt, go to applying that in the playoffs. And we all remember Game 5 of the ALDS in 15 when Russell Martin threw the ball off the guy's bat. Right. And how bizarre that was. I don't know which ruling is more bizarre. Like, which one was more confusing?
Well, this one was confusing last night. You know why? Because the inning ends, and they went to commercial right after. Did they not?
Like always. Yeah, of course.
Right.
Like, turn out, see you later.
This was my viewing experience, and there was a greasy thing that happened in my household, which I will get to as we describe this whole thing. It happens. today was garbage day. So I said to myself, innings done, going to go throw the garbage outside quick. I'll be back. I get back in. Couch has been taken over. TV has been changed to like whatever streaming service that we have, and someone has made themselves very comfortable in that situation. And I look and I said, what is going on here?
Troubling.
I fire up the laptop, and they're breaking apart this whole thing, and they're doing the replay. I'm like, what? Like, I just went out to put garbage outside.
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
I know.
It was bizarre, man. No one knew. Yeah.
I believe me, dude. We've all been in that spot. Very rarely goes the opposite way. Now that I think about it, I don't remember it going the opposite way where I got off Netflix or Crave and put the game on. But it is generally a one-way street on that front. I know exactly what you went through. But, you know, the idea of instant replay review process, I found the ump to be somewhat borderline hilarious because he basically turned his mic on. He's like, I have no idea what's going on. We're going to New York. You know, like the first time he spoke, like how often, that's an NFL ref type maneuver. Mm-hmm. You know, like I know they put the mic on quickly to say, you know, challenging a ball or a strike or challenging the play at the plate or whatever. Like it's pretty quick. And then they're pretty quick with an answer, you know, because generally it's black or white, strike, ball, safe, out. You know, it's generally what it is. So they don't get a lot of mic time. That was the most mic time I can remember an ump ever having. And the first time he was on the mic, he had no idea what was going on. You know, like no clue. And he's like, we're throwing this to New York. They're going to figure it out. And then even when he came back, it was kind of a funny experience because you knew he was relaying the message, but he was going to get hammered by the crowd.
Yes.
Like he must have been on the phone and they're like, all right, you got to go out there. You got to tell these lunatics because there's 40,000 people there. The run counts. It's a timing play. The rule actually is being applied appropriately here. And he did that, and naturally the fans just poured down booze on him. Because
you know what it is? It's like every time an official, it doesn't matter what the sport is, anytime they have to get on the mic, it's very formal and structured, right? Like think about NFL. Like offense, number 55, roughing, and then whatever, right?
Yep.
Anytime it becomes something where there's a little bit of an explanation or a gray area, it sounds so awkward. And it's like, that guy does not want to be doing that. He wants to stick to the script. Meanwhile, he gets off script, and it's a complete mess, and people start booing, and it becomes a whole thing.
Totally. And you know, like Major League Baseball or the NFL, any of these leagues, they must hate it when the official is spitballing. You know, like that is a danger zone. Because then he starts talking about stuff, and you're like, what are you doing? You know, like, why are you going down that road? Because you're right. In the NFL, it happens all the time. If there's multiple infractions and the guy, you know, all right, let's get this started. You know, he almost like he needs like a teaser to get the ball rolling on the explanation. And it must absolutely be mortifying for Goodell and company, and I guess Manfred and company last night when you're like, this guy is not comfortable. When it's not simply this team's challenging and it's a strike.
It reminds me, and I wonder if Joe from the Bridge could find it, but like remember when the year they started using those replacement referees at the start of the season? And it didn't, in the NFL, it didn't last very long because it was a complete mess. But maybe worse than the calls that were being made was the microphone behavior from a lot of these replacement referees who I think one guy turned on a microphone, started talking, it was gibberish, turned it off, and went to go like consult with the other referee at one point.
That's happened.
Yeah, it was a complete mess.
Yeah, those are the best when the guy starts going and then he realizes, he's like, I have actually no idea what I'm doing.
Or he forgot something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm starting to explain something that makes no sense. And, you know, there's 60,000 lunatics at a game like that or whatever. And they're yelling and screaming and it's cold. And you're like, what the hell am I doing here? This is not what I signed up for. You know, I signed up to throw a flag if it's pass interference or offside or holding or something, not a speaking engagement. But that was a crazy, crazy scene last night. But in the end, the Jays find a way to get a win, and they're back in action tonight. Dylan Cease on the mound. So Keegan coming up from the park a little bit later. this afternoon. I mentioned Noodles coming up for his check-in. He usually does this around this time, and we're waiting for hockey news every day. We get off the air. We're like, I wonder if something's going to happen, and it still hasn't in terms of Hughes or McCarr signing. It hasn't happened in terms of Dylan Larkin being traded. I would say it's not buzz, but it's a link, and I'm not convinced that I believe it, but I think the Montreal Gazette was reporting that Patrick Laine's got a couple of teams kicking tires on him, and one of them happens to be the Maple Leafs, which I'm not sure I believe. And quite frankly, I don't see the fit. I'm not a big Laine guy. I just don't trust him. I don't trust his body holding up. I don't trust the way he's going to play. This team was atrocious defensively last year. I don't trust Patrick Laine in a scenario like that. You got young guys, Easton Cowan, Gavin McKenna. It's not that he's a bad influence off the ice, but I don't love the general mojo on the ice. I don't see a link here. No. It's either a center help or defensive help. That's where I'm putting my eggs into any basket if I'm John Chaika. I don't see Laine and the Leafs making sense. Do you see any reason to believe it should?
And absolutely not. No, there's no fit for Patrick Laine on this team. And this is not like we're not going to dump on Patrick Laine, but the Leafs need some more help on the blue line. And you're right. If they could find, they brought in Teddy Bluger, they brought in Colton Sissons. Those are two, bottom six type centermen. If there was anything between those two guys and John Tavares, because we know it's very difficult to find an upgrade on John Tavares right now. That's just the reality of the NHL. But that's where you would be looking. Back end, center help that's maybe a little more elite than a bottom six guy. Patrick Laine's in tough right now because, normally that's a guy who's in PTO territory, who has to go to camp, play 6 out of the 8 exhibition games, have a good attitude, score a bunch, and really light it up. That opportunity is not there for a guy like that this season. The preseason is going to be 2 split squad games for Toronto. So, right. 4 games total, but really you can only play in 2 of them. That's not a lot of runway to prove your worth. So I don't know how a guy like that goes to a camp and convinces anyone in 2 games. You kind of know what you have. If someone wants to sign him, going to sign him for league minimum at this point. But yeah, he only played 5 games last year. He's really one-dimensional. It's going to be really hard for him.
It's kind of fascinating what, his story in Montreal, because I remember when they signed him, they were really excited in Montreal, because for a long time there, they were devoid of superstars and star power. And I don't know if Laine, in fact, I know, in my opinion, he never reached superstar status. He was a star, and he was a guy that I thought was going to be a superstar. His first couple of years in the league, and especially his rookie year, he was unbelievable. He was so dynamic, so much fun to watch. He's a goal-scoring machine. He looked like Mario Lemieux at times with the way he'd slow the game down, his reach, his size. And unfortunately, it never materialized. And then, he goes to Columbus, and that didn't work. And anyway, when he got to Montreal, it was it was a real buzz in Montreal because they were still kind of bottoming out, or maybe just on the way up, thinking not going to be competitive, but we got some young pieces here. And he just never took off. He didn't do what Kovalov did in Montreal, what Kovalchuk did at times in Montreal. He never took advantage of that. And I'm with you. The league, they know who Patrick Laine is. Been in the league for 10 years. They know exactly who he is. So if he doesn't sign, I'm not sure it's PTO material either. You're either going to give him a deal and believe in it or not.
You have to find a team that needs so much help scoring goals that they're going to play him in a top 6 role, and they just need him to shoot the puck and take a bunch of one-timers on the power play. It's a very niche fit for that specific player. And we haven't seen much happen in this offseason. There's a lot of, there's some decent players that are still sitting out there unsigned. It's not an easy player to fit into your lineup because he really just does one thing well. As much as, hey, listen, he went to Montreal that first year, he scored 20 goals. That's a big reason why they make the playoffs that year. No one can take that away from him. And by all accounts, he was a really good teammate this year while he wasn't playing, had a good attitude. It's still, it's still a hard fit for a lot of teams at this point.
Yep. And remember, Willie said last year they don't have a problem scoring. They didn't think they'd have an issue scoring goals, the Maple Leafs. It was defending and getting stops.
They scored.
That was the problem. All right, Noodles coming up just after 5. Confirm and deny coming up, including one on Brady Tkachuk and the Ottawa Senators fan base and the Ottawa market. Going to play one of the latest clips from the podcast between the two brothers that is creating a bit of a buzz. We'll get into that. We got the FedEx Cup starting this week, and the big boys are down there in Memphis, so we'll get to that. The Jays back in action tonight. Keegan coming up. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
Now, back to OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
I can neither confirm or deny that this is in fact a segment.
Boston trades Andrew Raycroft to Toronto in exchange for the rights to Tuukka Rask.
It's been my honor and a privilege to serve as the general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs Hockey Club.
It's time for Confirm or Deny.
Do you regret giving all those gentlemen the no trades or no movement clauses?
I can neither confirm or deny that.
I can't confirm or deny.
All right, Confirm or Deny, brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. Enjoy $15 lunch at BP where you get an entree, a side, and a drink, and you'll get it all in 20 minutes or less. A fast lunch doesn't have to be fast food. See you for a $15 fast lunch at your local Boston Pizza. All right, before we get to the first Confirm or Deny, I want to play a clip here. The Wingmen podcast with the Kachuk brothers, which has been ongoing for a while. They're still in separate studios. I have to believe when they're teammates in Florida, they're going to set up shop in the same studio. Maybe, maybe not. If they hit the road together, maybe they do it from hotels. I mean, their life is about to change significantly. But here's a clip that is gaining some attention, in particular in Ottawa, and I think among Senator fans, more so in terms of the reaction from Brady. So Matthew Tkachuk is asking him who he's looking forward to playing with, and this is the back and forth.
Whatever coach thinks is best for the team, Brady's going to do.
Oh, you got to name one, Brady. You got to name one.
Like, I don't know. Like, just there's so many great players. Like legit, you look at the roster, like, I'll be happy to play with him. I'd be happy to play with him. Like, I'd be lucky to play with him. Like, it's like, I don't know. Like he said, like Marshy, what a great career he's had. Like, I don't know, like just to learn off him, like Benny, like learning off him and like just how he shows up, like Barkey, Rhino, like Swaggy. Like, I'm going to go through the whole, like Lucy, Lundy, like Lars, Hath, like, it's like, I puts a smile on my face because I'm like, wow, like I'm so like,
he like
lucky.
just doesn't say me.
Yeah. Yeah. You're a thing of the past, not with the old, not with the new.
All right. So with that in mind, he's an excited Florida Panther. Confirm or deny, Brady Tkachuk in the Ottawa market will eventually make up at some point. Some point they'll come back together.
That is a hard deny, my friend. And honestly, it should be a deny. Like, why should that market make up with Brady Tkachuk? Didn't want to be there. Asks for a trade, goes to Florida, plays with his brother. But I'll use the Vince Carter example as to the reason why, okay? Vince left Toronto. There was a lot of vitriol there, okay? We understand that. Years later, like, fans could admit that Vince Carter did stuff for the Toronto Raptors and the market in the NBA that no one else had done for them before. He delivered something that wasn't already there. When you look back at Brady Tkachuk's time as an Ottawa Senator, did he deliver something that was proprietary to him being there? And I don't think, other than, they made the playoffs. They made the playoffs as a team. There was no, like, big Brady Tkachuk moment. He was handed a lot of money, a lot of term, captaincy. I don't know what you would look for under the surface if you were a Sens fan and say, I can forget about you leaving now. You gave us this. It doesn't exist. It's not there for them to make up with him at some point.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting comparison using Vince because you're right. What he represented was, he put the Raptors on the map. I know everyone keeps saying that, and yet he was so electric. He was so much fun. The dunk contest, his ability to drag them to the playoffs, something they had never done. Obviously, they had only been around for a few years when Vince arrived, but immediately an impact team, immediately a team making noise in the NBA. And what really allowed a lot of people to kind of allow bygones to be bygones with Vince was them winning in 2019. Now, I wonder if that would apply to Ottawa. Like, if the Senators won a Stanley Cup in the next 10, 15 years, would they look back on Brady differently? Probably. A little bit more dull, I think. I don't think it'd be as sharp, the vitriol directed towards him. But you're right. I mean, he was a very good player, not an all-time great player on that team. He's not getting his number retired or anything like that, not even close. So I'm gonna deny it as well, because what also cut deep with Vince was this idea that he didn't want to be in Toronto. It's the same thing with Brady. That's what can really sting, I think, for a fan base. It sucks that the guy didn't want to be a part of the team anymore, a team that he's the captain of, a team that's really good. Furthermore, not only did he want out, he wanted to go to a team within the division, which is another just jab at the fans and jab at the organization and the market. But I think there is a strong belief he didn't want to live in Ottawa anymore. And that hurts. That stings. Using another polarizing exit recently in Mitch Marner in Toronto. Mitch loves Toronto. Mitch is here in Toronto right now. He's up in Muskoka. He's back and forth. Brady Tkachuk will never go back to Ottawa, likely, unless he's playing the 2 road games or they play in the playoffs.
Right.
Like, honestly, I'm not sure that's not a guy who's going to have a house there in 20 years. I don't know. I don't think Brady's going back in 30 years to play at charity golf tournaments. I could be wrong, but I'm not sure. I think he's fine with cut and bait, too, which also leads to a standoff here. But, man, his return is going to be wild because, like, they went through the Danny Heatley stuff. And, again, I don't know, but I'm not of the belief Danny Heatley is, like, wedged his way back into the market there.
You don't hear a lot about that. Hey?
I don't think so.
That's not something that really ever resurfaced, ever.
So you're dealing with a market that is already surrounded by giants in Toronto and Montreal. So Ottawa's been punching up as a market for 35 years. Now you got a guy leaving when you make the playoffs back-to-back years, your captain, a guy that a lot of people were believing him when he was saying, hey, it's getting annoying. You keep asking me if I want out. Meanwhile, he was blatantly being disingenuous. Like, he knew he was out. He knew he wanted out, and he put on that facade in the press conference when he went back to Ottawa. It's just there's too many strikes.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way that market is ever going to, welcome him again. I don't see it right now anyway. I don't see an avenue for it in the future.
No, and I don't want to tell, like, the fan base or the market how to conduct their business, but small market, right? Like, it's one of those things where it's us against the world, and you don't want to be with us. Well, now you're against us. Mm-hmm. They have to have that.
I love that mentality.
But they have to, because it's not like there's – I don't know. It's not like there's all these other things they can look to and say, well, okay, we got this or we got that. It's like this is part of your fabric. This is part of your DNA. So a guy doesn't want to be there. Okay, you gotta show that you're bigger than the size of your market indicates. And so that would lead you to the heavy boos every time he touches the puck and he comes back for as long as possible.
I would think the rest of that'll be interesting. Like, it won't be nearly as crazy. Like, Tavares goes back to the island. There's still boos. It's not the same thing, though. There's no build-up. There's no, they're not burning jerseys in the parking lot before the game that I'm aware of anyway. But that is going to be quite the return, man. And the thing is, he's on a team that will I know they're going to step up for him. Like, it'll be interesting to see how he I appreciate how excited he is to be a Panther. Don't get me wrong. He's excited. He should. They're a really good team. They're loaded with talent. It'll be interesting to see the dynamic, right? Like, Team USA, it became Matthew and Brady's show. I don't think that's going to happen in Florida. Like, he's walking in there. It's not a team that was just created on a whiteboard 6 months ago.
No.
That's Barkov's team. That's Ekblad's team. They've been there.
He's like a complimentary piece
on
that team. He's like a complimentary piece, which is crazy because he was, such a prominent player and had to be for the Ottawa Senators. Of course, captain, one of the higher paid guys, but like to use one of your terms, like, he can blend in on that Panthers team, and quite honestly, he could be a third liner when it's all said and done on that team, given the way they can structure things within that lineup. It's pretty crazy to think that, because he's a good player,
really good player.
Yeah,
but you're right though. Like,
they can't be pushed over by that. Like, they got to hold firm as a market when it comes to this one.
Totally. And like I was saying, his teammates, like, it was so disappointing when the Leafs went down to Long Island and they just got pummeled by the Islanders when Tavares went back. And that was actually one of the first signs that they just didn't have the makings of a serious team. Like, that's just bluntly. They let him go out there and just get destroyed. They lost like 6-1. None of them showed up. I'd be shocked if Florida plays that way in Ottawa.
I wonder if there's a guy Brady goes after on the Sens. Like, what if he makes a point to like be in Stützle's kitchen all game, pushing, shoving, punches, all that kind of stuff? Like that'll pick up a lot of steam in that market if that's something that happens.
You're right. If he turns heel, kind of like that, because he was always, he always played within the lines and within the whistles and was tough, easiest guy to root for. Yeah, and stood up for everybody on that team. If he goes in there and just goes complete opposite, you're right. Starts giving it to Stützle and Sanderson and Pinto. That'll be fascinating to see if it plays out that way. All right, confirm or deny. Your boy Jackson Koivu will finish top 10 this week at the first leg of the FedEx.
Top 10, you say?
It's great field. Scotty's there, McElroy, everybody's there.
It's a really good field. Listen, he's got a win. He's got 2 top 10s. The guy's played 6 events. It's been pretty sparkly for him thus far. So, and I'm going to confirm it, and I think there's something to be said for the guy who's new on the scene, who doesn't have too much scar tissue, and is just kind of feeling it right now and is almost naive to the moment. And I feel like he could be in that. Like he could be in that zone where a lot of young guys, whether it's hockey, golf, like you name the sport, they're not carrying too much baggage with them. And he could find that sweet spot and finish in the top 10. Plus, he's very capable. Like he's a very talented golfer. So it's very conceivable that could happen.
Yeah, he looks generational in terms of his talent. Like you consider what he did as an amateur, as a collegiate player. He's already won a tournament that had a pretty stacked field. I just wonder if this one's a bridge too far, like this. The fact that he backdoored into the playoff is incredible. He's got the pursuit of the President's Cup kind of hanging over him. That's a big conversation right now. If Brandt Snedeker, the captain for the American team, is going to put him on, just understanding that he's very likely going to be there for the Ryder Cup the next year, and you want him to get some attention and get some reps in. But I'm going to deny it just because this field, you look at who's there, everyone's there. Scheffler, McElroy, Young, Fitzpatrick, Fleetwood, all the big boys are there. And there's so many guys who are playing well right now. Top 10ing this tournament, he's capable of it. It would be the statement, outside of winning a few weeks ago, the statement of the year. Like getting to the next round of the FedEx Cup playoffs would be incredible. Mm-hmm. I'm not quite there yet for a young guy like this, but he has serious game. Like he is a serious player, this kid.
His swing is awesome, man. Like every year now there's a guy who jumps in. Remember it was Aberg a couple years ago with that swing. You're like, I could watch that thing on repeat. He's got that. It's a different kind of swing, but you can still watch it on repeat like that. Like he's
big time.
Very talented.
Yeah, he's pure talent, man. He is so good. All right, confirm or deny, the Blue Jays will get back to 500 at some point this season. So they're 6 games under right now. They have 42 games left to play. Some point they're gonna hit 500 again.
I'm gonna deny that, and the reason why I'm gonna deny that is their rotation is so beat up right now. It's gonna be difficult for them to string together like a real hot streak. You talk about hot streaks, man. You need everyone going, firing on all cylinders. You need guys to punch above their weight class. And when you're that injured, it becomes way more difficult to put something like that together. Not to mention, like, the guy who's your star player still hasn't homered at home.
Yeah.
It's been there's too much working against them. Not to say that they can't play exciting games and make it close down the stretch when it comes to the wild card, but 500 seems like it's too much for them given how stacked the chips are against them.
Yeah, and you Savage, the news is he's going to have surgery, and they're not ruling him out for the rest of the year, but I'd be shocked if he pitched again. Now, Taillon, you mentioned it. It just, in the offense, it'd be something different if I felt like Vladdy was about to explode. And he had some opportunities last night that came and went again. I'm going to deny it as well. It's just, they've got a tough schedule. Boston, Tampa, New York, and they have not done enough to warrant that level of optimism. Like 500 means they could make the playoffs, right? Like I think that third wild card team probably 84, 85 wins. So if you're pushing up on 81, 82, you're really within the hunt. We've been waiting for it all year. If you had asked me this 2 months ago, I'd say yes, I would have confirmed it. But, I'm going to deny it for now. I hope I'm wrong on that. I know you hope so too. But
yeah,
they're dealing with injuries and too many new bodies. It's just not working for them.
It feels like with the way the team looks right now, post trade deadline, there's a newfound hope that the games are going to be exciting. They're going to feel a little different. And honestly, watching the games, I feel that as well. But there's a lot of teams that they're going to have to leapfrog in order to get a wild card spot. There's a lot of good teams, like you mentioned, that they're going to have to go up against in order to, put together a string of wins that would get them to 500. There's a lot working against them. And if they were putting up 5, 6, 7 runs a night, but they were losing because they were making, mistakes here and there, you could be like, hey, if they clean up their act a little bit, like, they'll be good. Mm-hmm. But they don't have that gear. Like, so if you don't have that gear, man, your margin for error is way slimmer.
Yeah.
It makes it that much more difficult for them.
It's so tough for them to manufacture offense, and I worry a little bit about Varland, how many innings he's thrown, how many high leverage situations he's been in. Okay, he got out of it last night, which was great, but his last few outings, he's been leaking some oil. So if the bullpen continues to get taxed and your really reliable arms start to wobble a little bit, then you're in trouble because, if you Savage isn't pitching anytime soon, if Taillon's out, I don't know, maybe Woods Richardson steps in and starts. Maybe they go with openers. I don't know. But Max Scherzer, is he going to do what he did on the weekend every fifth day? No, he's not. There's going to be some outings where he just gets rocked early.
There also could be another injury around the corner. You just never know with him, right?
They've built themselves, such a mountain to climb that they're not in a position where you can believe it right now. But as we said yesterday, this is the week. Great start last night. Find a way to get 3 wins against the Red Sox and at least 2 against the Yankees, and maybe it's a different story on Monday. There you go. Confirm or deny. All right, Noodles coming up in about 20 minutes on the Brady Tkachuk Ottawa Senators reunion down the road. We'll get his take on that. What's the holdup with Quinn Hughes, Dylan Larkin? What's the holdup on that front in Detroit? Number of things to get into with Noodles. Keegan Matheson coming up as well from the Skydome ahead of the game tonight. Update on you, Savage, and what we can expect with Dylan Cease on the mound. That and more still to come. OverDrive continues up on YouTube Live.
Back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, Overdrive continues, powered by FanDuel. We got Noodles coming up in about 15 minutes. Keegan Matheson coming up as well ahead of Game 2, Jays Sox tonight. And it's going to be a fun week. We've got the FedEx Cup playoffs beginning on Thursday. I saw that they're trying some new kind of fan interaction at the FedEx. And I think what they feel is going to be possible into the future is, the more players and caddies that are mic'd up and the more access you can give people, the better. Because those are really cool situations when you get, a really big chip or big approach or what have you, and there's some conversation between the player and the caddy. Like, that is brilliant stuff. I know I'm a golf nerd, but I love that stuff. And they're going to try to make that more available to the general public. And I'm curious how much further other sports could go in that area. Like, do you think coaches in the NHL would ever allow themselves to be mic'd up in the moment? It's not editing afterwards, right? Not running through the editing and through the NHL and the PA and the team. I'm talking live in the moment. You're mic'd up talking to a player, because I think that would be incredible access.
It would be, but there's no way you could do it like live in the moment. There needs to be like at least a couple minutes of a buffer so someone can filter this thing and make sure that what's going to go out over the air is not something that can get anyone in trouble. Because, dude, think about how much money all these teams spend on their PR staff, right? Like, they got a head guy, they got at least 2 other people, and maybe one other like intern, or let's say it's a staff of 4. You're going to pay $500,000 in PR salaries, and then you're going to let your coach be out there mic'd up live and in the moment, like unprotected like that. I can't see that happening.
I'm not saying I see it happen, but it is like, what other job on earth would that level of security apply and concern that you don't have the ability to filter through? You know what I mean? Like, can you imagine working at a restaurant and they're like, hey, we're going to mic you up, and go, dude, do you know what I'm saying in this restaurant? You work at some cubicle at a bank. They're like, you can't mic me up. Dude, I am so offside with my comments and
Buddy,
my language.
there's some guys doing the top coat of asphalt in my neighborhood this week. Those are the guys you need mic'd up.
Those would be some great chats.
If you got those guys mic'd up on a PA system in the neighborhood, there would be some like all-time stuff that is being said right now.
You're so right. A work site with the boys, when the boss isn't around, you mic those guys up. It is go time. That's the most entertaining stuff you could possibly ever hear.
100%. There's the guy operating like the thing. He's got, I don't know what it's called. It's like a caterpillar or something. He's got this way, that way, and the whole time there's just a dart, like just gently hanging out of his mouth. And this guy, like, that this guy's been in the business a long time, and a lot of stuff runs through him if that's how he's operating.
Yes. He worked his way up to that caterpillar, man. That guy was, he was loading the truck up 20 years ago.
Exactly.
Now everything goes through him. And you're right. He's got a comment for everyone. People who are driving, people biking around the community. He's got something to say. He's probably got a take on the Leafs, and a deep take on the Leafs too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Nothing's like lukewarm with that guy. I see 98 points and they backdoor into the playoffs. They're either winning the Stanley Cup or they're the worst team in the league.
Exactly.
There's no middle ground for that guy.
You know what the golf thing always reminds me of? And like Jordan Spieth, he's really talkative out there, right? Like whether he's talking to himself or his caddy or whoever, like there's been a lot of back and forths. I always think of him. And the less I heard of Jordan Spieth in those interactions, the more I liked his game or whatever. But I listen to him talk to his caddy, and I listen to the way he talks to himself after a bad shot, and I'm like, it's a little off-putting, right? Like, and I wonder if we're obviously going to mic people up and we're going to have all this access. What does that do for the viewer experience and how much you're inclined to, I don't know, root for a guy or not root for a guy?
Yeah, it is true. I mean, the interactions and how a player kind of handles the caddy. You look at last week, Bo Hostler was going nuts like the whole tournament. And that's his reputation, being very hard on himself. He was walking up 18 on Sunday. The tournament was over. Brennan stuck one close, or was going to. I think he had a 2-shot lead at that point. And, he was middle of the fairway. He was not going to take himself out of that tournament. Brennan was going to win it. And I think, Hostler obviously puts pressure on himself, but he didn't hit a great approach. But it wasn't awful, and it was over. And he was going nuts on himself, like all the way up the hill to the green. And the cameras got him. And I'm like, it was an off-putting kind of thing to see because, I get it. It's you're inside the ropes. He's trying to win his first tournament. He's trying to make the FedEx Cup playoffs. There was a lot on the line for Bo Hostler. I get it.
Right.
But he's snapping. He was snapping on his caddy. And I'll bet you that would – I know it would happen. There would be a guy with a rosy reputation doing the Monty, as O would call it. Like the cameras are on, smiles, hey, everybody, how you doing? The second he's with his caddy, he's just chewing that guy out all the time.
Listen, guys are competitive. It's the heat of the moment, right? But it does change a little bit of the viewing experience for guys, right? Like that's real inside the ropes access that you're not going to get unless you're right there. If you're at the event and you're 15 feet away from the guy, now everyone's going to get it, like millions and millions of viewers. It's fascinating to see how that could change things or skew things for you.
Big time. Yeah, that would be, more caddy interaction for sure. Although the caddy's not the coach, that's the thing. Like he's employed by the player, where the idea of getting a coach mic'd up would be amazing. Like just to know what that guy's up to. What are you really preaching?
I'd like the coach in Edmonton mic'd up would be fun this year.
Mike Babcock this year would be pretty high on the list. What are you saying to McDavid when he comes off a bad shift? What are you saying to the guy on the fourth line who you claim that's not your focus? You're tougher on the big boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be a good ranking. Which coach in the NHL would you want mic'd up? All right, Noodles coming up, Keegan coming up. Jay's Sox tonight. OverDrive continues up on YouTube Live.
ATP Masters 1000 on TSN. Tennis lives here.
This is OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
Hour 2 OverDrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you more ways to play your game your way. Jays Sox tonight. Keegan Matheson from the Dome later this hour. Get you an update on the latest from Trey Savage and the likelihood of him making a start again this year. So catch up with Keegan. He was obviously there when all hell broke loose last night, and it was a timing play, the old fourth out rule. The umpire had no idea what the hell was going on. No one in the building did. No one did at home. But in the end, it's all a good time because the Jays found a way to win.
The
right?
Jays win. The Jays win again, and they're keeping it interesting. They're playing, even though it was a close game, low-scoring game, it feels like there's a little more excitement around the team. And honestly, guys, it feels like guys are freed up a little bit, which is nice. It just doesn't feel as tense as it was before the trade deadline.
Yep, trade deadline is officially come and gone, and Dylan Cease on the mound tonight. So, he's chasing down that Cy Young. It's likely him and Schlittler in the American League, the Miz in the National League, who hit 200 strikeouts, second fastest ever to do that when he hit 200 strikeouts over the weekend. Guy throws 104, 105 in his sleep. It's crazy to watch him pitch.
That stuff is wild, man. And if you ever see like a still, you see the arm and like a picture of that. It's not normal to see an arm bent that way, man, with the amount of torque that these guys get on that stuff. It's wild.
It sucks, but you just know what's coming.
Yes.
Like you just kind of prepare for it and you know what's coming.
Yeah.
So Keegan on the Jays and more later in the hour. Best bet still to come. We got the FedEx Cup playoffs this week. Got NFL back in action, right? We got the CFL really cooking at this point. The Argos with a big win over the weekend. And we're like less than a month away, maybe a month away from training camp opening up. The Leafs play their first game September 29th. Into September, they start, and it's go time. And they got a bit of a soft schedule to start, 4 home games, including the Habs to open the season up at home. But not a ton going on in the NHL, but we're waiting for more on the NHL. And we mentioned this earlier. Frankie, you're wearing black. I'm wearing navy. I'm curious to see what Noodles is going to bring to the table. Let's bring him in here. He usually joins us around this time. Oh, yes, I love it. You called it. You said gray shirt. Frankie called it.
I think that's the closest thing he has to Tommy Bahama.
That's basically pink for Noodles. Basically a pink shirt. I love it.
I was going to wear a pink shirt.
I love it.
But here's the thing, guys. I'm on holidays. I don't know how you guys, treat your holidays. But when I go away on vacation, I number my shirts. This is number 4. And I have a rotation of 8 shirts, and I bring them every year. You can go back 10 years in my pictures when I go to Italy or you name it traveling. You can see on the 4th or 5th day, this shirt will be there. And it drives Steph nuts because she's like, all the pictures look the same. There you are with that shirt again. And I'm like, yeah, because this is my travel shirt. So I thought I would unpack this because I heard you guys chirping me about black. So I'm like, okay, I've got to do something here. But that's what I did. So this is number 4 on the travel shirt.
Do you know how helpful you would be at a crime scene if you're in the background and they were trying to get the date right? They're like, what shirt does? Oh, he's got day 4. He's got day 4.
Yeah, but they wouldn't be able to tell what year it was because I wear it every year on the. And honest to God, when I take this off today, this goes back in the closet till next July. I don't wear it again until next July.
Wouldn't that be amazing to a mistrial that came out later that you've worn it every year? So the lawyers are like, dude, that could have been from 4 years ago. You have no idea.
There is. I'm not lying. There is pictures of me in Italy 12 years ago with the same gray shirt on.
I love that so much.
When people ask you,
good.
Hey, what makes goalies weird? This is the best example of what makes goalies weird. Yes. This guy has allocated shirts for a 2-week stretch every single year, and he will wear them in the same sequential order.
The thing is, too, is I do laundry on the road. So I pack light. Like I pack for 7 or 8 days, even though we're gone for 3 weeks, because I do laundry on the road. You just cycle it through. So that's the way. That's
So
how you
good.
travel light. You're efficient, and I like efficiency.
You're efficient. Both you guys travel a lot. Very.
Yeah.
I saw Muddy this morning, Brian Mudryk, and know Muddy sounds like he's ready to call some Habs games this year, among many other things, like he always does. And I wouldn't say it's hockey weather right now. Clearly, we got a beautiful week of weather going on here, but. This seems to happen every year, Noodles. We always talk about it. You talk about how crazy it's going to be at the draft, how crazy it'll be July 1. And for the most part, it was this year. It was great.
Yeah.
Tons of activity. And there's always a little bit of carryover for a week or two.
Yeah.
And that applied with, the offer sheet and the Celebrini signing, the Bedard signing, et cetera. But then it just shuts down, and that's kind of the spot we're in right now. And I don't really have a read on what is going to break the league back open. I don't know if you think it's going to be Hughes and or Makar. Is it a Larkin deal? Is it the Cutter Gauthier signing? What's next on the docket for you?
I had a beer with a GM last week, and he said this is the dog days. They're all, everyone was in Edmonton doing the Holinka tournament there, keeping an eye on the prospects for the future. And then the next 10 days, quiet. And then after that, it ramps back up going. Kids, keep in mind, there's still some really good players out there that don't have deals. So it's almost like GMs are waiting them out going, well, you were asking for $3 million on July 1st. Can I get you for 2 or 1 on a 1-year deal and fill out my roster here? I think we are going to see, if you laid it out, Hayes, free agency and then some trickle factor afterwards, we're going to see leading up to training camp more action here. It's going to, and it might take one of those things, whether it's this Hughes thing. I'm worried for many. I think he's gone, man. I don't know. I don't know how you guys feel about it. Like that's quiet
so
around
long?
there.
I feel like if he wants to push the envelope here and ask for $20 million, he can do it. And what are they going to do? Are they going to say no? They traded so much to get him. Like he could essentially call his shot. If he wants to do a 3-year deal, line it up with Jack and say, we'll shop ourselves around after that. And in the meantime, I'll make $60 million.
Well, I should backtrack. I don't think he's 100% gone, but it's got a little bit of a smell to it where it's like the longer it goes, I don't think that's better for the organization. Again, now they are pretty tight to the vest, but he seemed to like it there. I just don't know what you're waiting on. And the same thing with Makar. Like that should just be a blank check. You slide it over to the agent and say, what does he want to fill it out at? But the longer this goes, you know how it is. Like, can you imagine if that was McDavid, Matthews, a Canadian, a Canadian player, like a Canadian team player? Because it's south of the border, because those markets are a little bit quieter, it's not as noisy around them.
You're right, and I've had it, suggested to me that maybe Makar and Hughes are playing chicken right now because they both feel they should make about the same, which I think is reasonable. Like,
it's fair.
I think you can make the case for both. Makar is certainly going to Colorado and saying, look what I've done for you. Like, I won a cup. I won Norris's. I'm, arguably your best player right there with McKinnon. You got to pay me as the highest paid player in the league or the highest paid defenseman. But Hughes equally could go to Minnesota and say, I don't have the same track record, but you're more desperate. Like, I might leave. No one thinks Makar's leaving Colorado. Right. So it's not like Makar's going to play that card. But, I don't know if there's collusion with agents. It would just, you don't want Makar signing for 18 and then Hughes for 21, and they're like, wait a minute, I wonder if that's what's going on here. There's a scenario where they're not sure which guy should go first. But yeah, the Hughes stuff, that changes a lot because Bill Guerin, I would think, plays it out for the year. I would think you've already paid the premium to get him.
Yeah.
You believe in your team like you should. They were a great team last year.
Yeah.
Do you just let it play out and let him walk? Or if he gives you a definitive answer, I'm not signing with you, do you think Minnesota could trade him?
You might have to. Like, the only thing that we have for somewhat recency bias, or at least a little bit of a track record, is look at the Stanley Cup champions. They pivoted. Rantanen was like, hey, I'm not going to extend. Okay, move on. Like, you have to have that, the ability to adjust on the fly. And I think Minnesota's different than Carolina, than Toronto, than Edmonton, you name it. But I still, I think Guerin has another ace up his sleeve. Now, he might say to Hughes, I want to get you done, and I'm trading for Larkin. Like, we're going to have a hell of a team here. And that's possible. But keep in mind, there's only enough money to go around. Like, you've got to – I know the cap's going up, but you've got to take care of some of these players. And with Makar, I think that's just a matter of time. He might be waiting exactly. He might be saying, "What does Hughes get?" and put another $1 million on top of it, and I'll sign type of thing.
But you could almost look at it this way: if you're Makar, you almost want Hughes to go first, and what you want him to do is say, "I'm going to take advantage of Minnesota the same way Kirill Kaprizov did. I'm going to extract as much as I possibly can, and then whatever we thought Makar was going to leave on the table. Let's say Makar." I don't know. If you looked at him and said, Makar's going to be generous to Colorado, he's going to take $16 million, right? And Hughes all of a sudden signs for like $19.5. Makar could go to Colorado and say, I want $17.5, and it looks like I'm being generous, and I made myself another, $1 million per year, and I maintain a good, it looks good optically on me. Like I would want Hughes to really push the envelope first if I was Makar.
I agree. The one thing that I keep thinking, and I don't know how you guys feel about it, but do you feel like these are going to be short? Like, I don't see either one of these guys going 8 years. Like, I think it's like
the world
seems
seems
to get
to
done
have changed.
now, right?
It seems to have changed.
It's going to change very soon, like September 1st. It changes.
Yeah,
does it
I
not?
do believe you're right. So it changes,
Yeah.
and I don't even think it can be 8. I think it goes to 7. But I think at the end of the day, you might see 3-year deals. You might see, what McDavid did, that type of stuff. It's like, okay, I'll give you my year plus an extra 2 type of thing to see what the landscape looks like. Because I think we are going to see, this is kind of the muddy middle right now. You're seeing salaries escalate. Like I and I know you're going to call me a goalie hugger, but like you look at this Leo Carlsson making 18 and Connor Hellebuck's making 8. At what point, like, what's the next goalie that's going to be a $15, $16, $17 million, goaltender? Because we balk when somebody gets 5 or 6. So this is kind of –
goalie plays 45 games a year now.
Well, you're right. That's a fair comment. But I think that what we're going to see is the escalating salaries. It's going to take a few years to cycle through where your top guys are going to be at those salaries. And, unless you're locked in, I think, what does Timmy Stützle have left? He's got
a lot of term.
5 years left at like 8,
those guys, dude, that got those deals
Sanderson,
done. The Suzukis and the Stützles and the Sandersons and the Caulfields, like those 2 markets in particular, like those guys are going to be 100-point players, and there's going to be players in the league making 10, 12, 14 million more dollars than them.
Yeah,
Tim Stützle signed till 2031, making $8.3 million. The Sanderson one is wild. Like that, there is not 8 more defensemen in the NHL that you would take on your team before Jake Sanderson. And he's going to make $8 million till 2032. Think about that for a second. That's going to feel like $4 million in a few years.
Yeah, it will. Now the caveat to all of this is you got to have the success. Montreal had the success last year, creeping up, starting to do some things. Ottawa, what are they going to do this year? Like I know Tkachuk leaving and Eklund coming in. Like I don't say there's questions around them, but they I think they just need to play hockey.
Big
I think
time.
they got to get rid of the noise there and just play hockey.
Well, Brady rolls through town pretty quickly.
I know,
which I think is helpful for them. Because again, the Leafs didn't fall apart because of the anticipation of Marner coming to Toronto, but Vegas didn't get here until late January, I believe it was, where Brady and the Panthers are in town on October 21st. So, 3 weeks into the season, he's there.
You get over it. You're going to have to gut through it right then.
And it's going to be crazy. We played the clip earlier from their podcast, and he's excited. Of course he is.
Of course,
what's he going to not be excited and pretend that he's not a Panther? I get it. I understand why he's jacked up. But that market very well. That is going to be – I can't think of a – I don't think it'll be John Tavares levels because I just don't think Ottawa's like New York. New Yorkers are just a different breed, and they were just waiting to get them. I don't anticipate it to that level, but it'll blow the Marner return out the water.
Of course.
Like, it won't even be close to that one. That one was kind of like conflicting a little bit in the building.
Well, it's different, too, because there was a trade involved as opposed to a free agent. That's the difference. And, listen, players move on and all that. But this was literally a trade. Like, I'm done here. We're going to move on. You can get some assets for me. And they did. But at the end of the day, like, that's a trade compared to a free agency. So it'll get noisy. But I think you look at it like I literally, and I'm not lying, last week started to look at my lists because there was a lot of movement in this offseason. So you're going, that guy plays for – you forget that San Jose made some moves. Nurse and Trouba coming in. That kind of piqued my interest because the Celebrini deal, you're looking at, okay, what are they spending? What do they got for a team? And so you start to look at some lists and look at teams and go, hey, that team's looking all right, might need to add X, Y, and Z. I think that's where it comes back to the original comment, Brian, is we are going to see that third wave of the summer. I think probably within a week or two of this guy, signs a deal. Or do you think, Frankie, it's going to be PTOs? Like, do you think you see some the Roslovics and guys? Now, remember what happened with Roslovic? He signed for like $1 million or $1.5 million with Edmonton. Went in and had a good season. Now Toronto signs him, but you're going to see players like that who are good players maybe either sign PTOs or low one-year deals.
Well, now's the time. Usually, there's a player that says, I'm just going on a PTO. Don't have a deal. I'm going to go to camp and I'll earn it, right? And sometimes there's something like cooked already because the team doesn't have the salary cap to actually sign the player today, so they got to buy some time, put someone on waivers. But there's just not a lot of preseason games for a true PTO to go in there and like have enough runway. Guys would go in and play 6 of the 8 games or 6 of 6 games and earn a contract. It's different this year. You got to know what you have before training camp. It's a totally different landscape now.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, the days of a kind of unknown player showing up and having a great camp and making the team, I don't know if it's possible anymore with the salary cap being what it is, obviously. But you mentioned it. There'd be guys that would play 6 preseason games, and have like 12 points, and they'd make the team.
Yeah.
And
where's it that Brandon Perlini? Remember that guy would score like 8 goals in the preseason. He'd make the team out of the gate, and then they're like realize he can't defend or something like that. And
generally, eventually comes back to earth. Like a lot of times that does happen. But you mentioned Roslovic there. You talk about a guy who just is not like slipping through the cracks of chatter and conversation. I'm not suggesting that he deserves a ton of buzz, but the Leafs brought in so many new pieces, and a lot of them like fundamental changes, like Bobrovsky first and foremost, Radish, McKenna, new coach. You were talking earlier, Frankie, about Sissons and Bluger and Duhaime, but then Roslovic is here too as a guy that likely is going to get top 6 minutes. And I was looking at their schedule last night for a couple of different reasons, one of which I'll mention to you guys in a moment. I'm curious your take on it. But I was just, kind of studying the Leafs schedule. They start with back-to-back Montreal Islanders at home, then Ottawa on the Saturday night, and then Nashville. So 4 games at home spread out over.
They go out west, don't they?
Well, that's what I was going to get to, Noodles. They go through Western Canada and through the Colorado, Utah, Vegas trip, like by the end of October. They're through both of them. And then they go through California before the end of December, I think it is. Yeah, basically their last 40 games, I looked it up, their last 40 or 41 games, they have 3 games that aren't in the Eastern time zone. And they're all in the Central. They go to Winnipeg, St. Louis, and Nashville on different trips. Yeah. If they can survive the first 45 games, stay healthy, Bob plays well, Stolarz plays well, because they're going to have a lot of travel and back-to-back and stuff. It's going to challenge them early.
Yeah.
But if you can get to January 10th and you're in a playoff spot or close to it, they are set up to be very comfortable down the stretch.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. And I'll come back to Roslovic in a second because I want to get to the schedule. I was looking at that same thing, too, because I was going through scheduling. And do you remember it was last year, which is crazy because they didn't make the playoffs and then they intentionally started, guys were dropping off and all of that. but they hadn't done any travel by like January. By I think the Olympic break, it was like they hadn't even gone out west once or barely. They'd been to Chicago or like it's the exact opposite this year. It's like they do all their travel early on and then come home and stay in the Eastern time zone and, travel within. Yes, it sets up, if they're in a good spot, to be favorable for them. So they have to, they have to make hay early or at least survive, the initial pushes of those ugly travel, because travel does catch up to you. And that's where you got to be healthy to get through it. But I agree. I think it is ugly for them early, but if they can, that might also, you think about it, Brian.
I think it's smart, Noodles. I think it's smart that they have all the travel early on because of this team specifically. Think about all the new faces they have, right? Like the whole bottom six is all new guys. There's new guys on the back end. There's a new goalie. If you're at home for the first 3 months of the season, you're not doing the team dinners. You're not on the bus. You're not on the plane. Like you kind of stay in your own little cocoon a little bit. But you get on the road, all of a sudden it's like, hey, we're doing a team dinner here, we're doing this there, we're doing a golf trip there. Everyone gets to know each other. You build a little bit of that, so by the time you get home, like everyone's it's a bigger group. It's not as it's not as individualized. Mm-hmm. I think it's good based on how many different faces there are this year.
I agree. That's the one thing that I was going to point out, and it's so true. Getting on the road, that's where people say, hey, we can do some team bonding. Well, there's no better way to do team bonding on a team that has – how many new faces do you think they're going to have when it's all said and done? 12?
Yeah. I mean, I think 14? 8 to 10 for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Depending. I mean, are we all in the belief, like, is Morgan Riley on this team to start the season?
I would think so at this point, Noodles. I mean, what is changing between now and the start of the year? I mean, a lot of teams have built their team. I guess it's possible there's a trade on the table that the Leafs don't want to accept right now that they're willing to accept in a month,
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, players' contract negotiations.
Yeah.
There's a chance it's the opposite way, where a team Riley's willing to go to is like, throw in a second-round pick, or whatever, we'll do it, but we're not, like that is possible. But, Radish and Andre on defense, Bob and net, there's going to be 6 new forwards at least, I think. Like that.
There's 9 new guys on this team when it's all said and done.
8 or 9, like 8, like we're talking the 18 guys dressing every night. 8 or 9
half
new
your
guys.
roster is turned over, and especially if you have Bob starting, and then like you say, Radish, Andre,
That's a lot, man. Like that's a lot. Like I didn't even mention Nick Paul when I was doing my spiel. There's another guy. Like
he's playing. Like I could see, depending. Let's look at that. Joe's laid out that bottom. I don't know if Lorentz makes it in or Joshua, but Bluger's playing. Duhaime's playing. Maybe they put McEwen in because they want some toughness. Maybe not. Maybe he doesn't start. Maybe he doesn't start with the team. But I look at it. I think there's at least 8 or 9 new faces
for sure,
like, right away, and then. You got a new coach. You got a lot to work
man.
with.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. Like if it's bordering on too much, it's understandable why it was. Last year went the way it went.
Yeah.
And they had money and they had guys coming off the books in certain areas, and they've had to fill out a roster, but it's a ton of movement.
It had to be done, though, or else there was no chance you were going to be able to compete with Florida and Buffalo and Montreal and Ottawa. Like if they made 3 changes, you'd be right back where they were last year.
That's
you had to roll the dice and make like big sweeping changes across the board.
Yeah, and it was clear, and it is clear with the roster that they built. Is their intention is to make it back to the playoffs, like to make it back to, like, it's not, hey, we're blowing it up. Now you could still infuse younger players, McKenna, Cowan, guys like that. You could still infuse as you have guys pushing through. Maybe Artie plays games because, the goaltenders are, Bob will be 37. Stolarz, we don't know, he's had health issues the last couple of years. I think he'll be healthy and be fine. But at the end of the day, we'll see some young guys that potentially push through. But it's clear with that roster They're like, we wanted to change our bottom six, we wanted to add to our group, and we want to go right back with a healthy group to try and make the playoffs and push up against the Atlantic.
Big time. Well, we'll see. We still got about a month until they're in town and in camp, and there will be more activity between now and Labor Day. But summer's flying. It always does. And Noodles, great seeing you. We'll see you again soon on a daily basis. And
looking
we
forward
look forward
to
to you packing away shirt number 4.
This is going like right back in the closet.
That goes right into the Frank Costanza cruisewear closet.
I love it. Yeah.
I'm telling you, this is – I don't know why people would get so frustrated with that. Like, that's what vacation's for. You're not supposed to put a show on vacation.
No,
you
totally.
Go relax.
Yeah, send a vibe out of relaxation. I love that vibe.
Exactly.
All right, buddy. Good seeing you.
Chat soon.
There he is, Jamie Noodles McLennan. It's such a great contrast because Steph is, like, very stylish and would, be – planning, doing the complete opposite. I know her. She'd be like, all right, going to dinner here. I'm going to need to find something for that. And Noodles is like, I don't care what we're doing for dinner, man. That's day 2. It's shirt 2. Yeah.
Day 2 has a light flower pattern, and it's had that pattern since 20 who knows whatever.
Yeah.
Right? Like
way back in the day.
It's going to have that pattern next year and the year after that.
I love it. I love that mentality.
You want a mini Jerry's on the other side before we bring Keegan in?
Yes.
Can we do that?
Save it. Throw it at me. We'll do a quick one, mini, and then we'll get to Keegan, who's down at the Park J Sox tonight. What's the latest on Treya Savage? We'll get you that answer and more next.
Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, best bets coming up later in the hour. Keegan Matheson will join us here in a few moments from the Rogers Center. Jays Red Sox tonight. Frankie, you threw out the idea of a mini Jerry's. You have something you want to throw my way?
Yeah, I got something for you, and I wonder if you know where this is going, but we were talking about all the new additions to the Toronto Maple Leafs. The one we didn't really talk about was Gavin McKenna. Mm-hmm. And I wonder how much power play time on the top unit Gavin McKenna is going to get. Like, what kind of treatment is he going to get out of the gate? Is it going to be very protective? Is he going to have to kind of earn his ice time, play minimal and sheltered minutes? Or is he going to get, hey, go play, make mistakes, go learn on the fly? So that leads me to the mini Jerry's, which is
30% chance. It is very clear when you listen to Hiller and Chaika speak that they believe one area that they have identified as a game changer to get this team back on the right track is the power play. I think it's very clear. And I believe that's what Hiller ran when he was here in the past on Babcock's staff. And they have mentioned it. The power play was atrocious at times last year, if not the whole season. And it's a way, it's a game breaker in the league. You have a hot power play, it can do a lot for you. So I say that with the belief that they are going to try to really emphasize that in camp. And if you're not a part of that first group, and I don't think he will be day one, it'll be difficult to crack it. Now, if it's not working a month in, that's the, break glass if in trouble card for me would be McKenna moving him in there. Because 5-on-5 at 18, you'd know this. It's going to be tough at times.
Yeah.
But I think he can do some damage on the power play. Like his vision and his talent. So he'll get there at some point. I'm just not convinced it's by November. And if things are going well, it definitely won't be by November because that means the power play's cooking and they're winning games.
I'm high on it. I'm like 68%.
Okay.
Because I think of it this way. Radish, shooter. Matthews, shooter. Nylander, really good passer, but I think he wants to shoot before he wants to pass. Tavares down low. Nyes, more of a finisher. Not, he's not really a playmaker. Like, there is a need for a guy who can do something deceptive passing-wise, who can set up Radish for a one-timer, who can kind of find Matthews through a seam, and he can fill that need. Now, is it going to be day one, like you said? Probably not. But, I don't know, you give him a month and a half into the season?
He's going to get there. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. And the power play, he can really cook. I think he could be very impactful pretty quickly. Okay, I like that. Little mini Jerry's. All right, what is the latest on Trey Savage? What the hell happened last night in the seventh inning? How are the Jays feeling now that they're, 6 games under 500? Let's head down to the park. Here's our main man, Keegan Matheson of MLB.com. Keegan, how are we feeling this evening?
Doing well, fellas. I like when I get to join just as a guest, I started to get a little anxious, like, boys, I got to have a take on the Leafs power play here, I got to start scrambling and make some sort of flippant comments about Morgan Riley. But no, I'm here for baseball, fellas. We're doing well.
I love it. It's great to see you, and you're more than capable and more than free to chime in on Gavin McKenna's power play usage this year if you want to. But
I'm closer to you than Frankie. Put me at 40.
I love it. 40%.
Closer to
Perfect.
you than Frankie.
Thank you. That's all we needed to hear. What did we hear about Trey Savage today, and what are we game planning in terms of projecting the rest of his regular season?
So he had left knee surgery on his meniscus. We're told it's successful. Aren't most surgeries, I guess, at this point, but successful left knee surgery. The optimistic news, if you want to look at it that way, is that the Blue Jays aren't ruling him out yet for the rest of the year. Meniscus injuries can really differ, guys. And I feel like we're more used to hearing about meniscus in the NFL. When you're talking about, are you going to repair it, trim it, which is maybe a more dangerous or risky thing. But we're talking about what sounds like a pretty good outcome. And we spoke about this in studio last week. Like, Savage's delivery, it's very vertical. Like, this is not Dylan Cease, who you'll watch tonight, how he kind of glides down the mound. It's this easy ride. Savage is up slam down pitch. There's some jerkiness and some slamming involved. You need that left knee to be completely healthy. And it's going to take a beating compared to some other pitchers when you compare it to Cease. So we'll see. I think if the Blue Jays fall out of this, see you next quite easily. But if they make a run, maybe we see him make a bit of a run himself.
How much more difficult is it going to be for the Jays to make a run toward the wild card, toward 500 with the rotation as banged up as it is?
Man, the pitching is a problem. Again, we talked about this all spring training, like they have too many starting pitchers. Even a week ago, we were talking about a 6-man rotation. When here we go again. I mean, even yesterday, Jameson Taillon came out of the game with a forearm issue. He's on the IL today. We're back to talking about minor league depth guys. We're talking about Chad Dallas, CJ Van Eyck, Lazaro Estrada. It's not where you want to be if you're a serious team trying to push for the postseason. And they need some good stories, man. They need someone to come back and get involved in this right now. And they need Dylan Cease days, like tonight, to be damn near perfect. And he's been that so far lately. But on a Dylan Cease night, like John Schneider said, he was walking out with him last night. And he said, how many do you got for me? And Dylan Cease said 130. So maybe we see 130 pitches from Dylan Cease tonight, which is probably not the safest thing either, guys, but this is where they're at.
Well, yeah, you're right. And, Cease, every time he's on the mound, obviously, wins and losses are still a part of the conversation, but we continue to talk about that Cy Young race and how good he's been and the likelihood that he could end up winning that. But, you look at the bullpen, and Rogers was good last night, and Varland, he was in a jam immediately, but he got himself out of it, which was great. But, we've talked about it when you've been co-hosting the show, Keegan. Like, the back end of that bullpen, there's a lot of miles on those two arms in particular. And, I don't even know if they're available tonight. They play every single day, and they're going to play every day through Sunday. But, the importance of Cease giving them that much. I know he's being tongue-in-cheek with 130 maybe, but how much more bend is in that back end of the bullpen before we worry it's going to break?
Not much, maybe none. I mean, my God, you're in risky territory. You're redlining right now. You are redlining and hoping that you've got a really good engine. And two good guys to bet on. I mean, Tyler Rogers, I think, can make 90 appearances and be just fine. And Louis Varland, guys, like, when I say built different, I don't mean like a stupid Instagram caption, I'm built different. I mean, literally, I think he's just physically built differently. Like some guys just have bodies that can hold up to a lot of work. Physiologically, how they are built, they can handle a lot of work. I think Louis Varland's just one of those guys. But still, the human elbow and the human shoulder, they're already not meant to throw baseballs 100 miles an hour. And they're sure not meant to do it this many times in a row. Mason Fluharty leads the league in appearances. Braden Fisher's right up there as well. This doesn't last. And if it doesn't bite you this year, it'll bite you next year. You never get out free. You got to cash out when you can. And, man, if Dylan Cease can give them 8 innings tonight, John Schneider will be hugging that man on the mound, I promise you.
How much concern should there be that Okamoto was supposed to return and now he's going to be scratched from tonight's game with the left knee issue?
Yeah, 2 in a row. That's a weird one for Okamoto. He fouled a ball off his knee. And, fellas, these are tree trunk legs, okay? It takes a lot to penetrate the legs of goalie leg Kazuma Okamoto. So, ideally, it's just one more. We'll see at this point. But he's kind of been grinding a little bit recently as well. When Okamoto is grinding, there are some tough at-bats to watch. The power, when it's there, is absolutely spectacular. But the gaps in between have been rough. The strikeouts can pile up. So maybe a bit of a mental reset. I expect we'll still see him tomorrow because these have been late scratches. But you need power, man. Wherever you can get it, you got to steal some ball games here pretty quickly.
Big time. Jays Sox tonight. So last night was a wild scene, obviously, in the late into the game last night, top of the 7th, and there's a scoreboard malfunction. 2 guys take off on a fly ball. There's a play at first, not a play at third. It turns into a timing rule. I mean, take us through what you experienced and how you experienced it live, Keegan, and the explanation from the ump, because I found that funnier than anything else. You never hear umps talking freely. They're usually pretty quick. Challenge, strike, ball, out. the ump last night was like, I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to tell these lunatics at the Rogers Center because people are freaking out. What did you make of it, and how confused were you compared to Frankie and I?
Oh, very. Let's not pretend that I know Rule 503 XYZ 123. Okay, some people are very proud to know that rule. I'm quite proud that I have not wasted any space in my brain with that rule. Okay, I've lived a blessed life for the last 10 years. I'll keep living a blessed life without that rule in my head. It's a confusing one. And like you say, Hazy, like umpires usually talk like lawyers. You choose your words really carefully. When I see the crew chief, Chris Guccione, come on the headset and he starts with, okay, so what we got here, and I just started to cackle in the press box. So what we've got here, and it's fascinating. Only a few guys have seen this. We even found out that John Schneider had this happen in a single-A game in beautiful Lansing, Michigan in 2016. And today he was like, I have no idea, man. I wiped that from my brain. It's Max Scherzer remembered it because, of course, he has. That dude remembers everything. But it is one of those obscure, very baseball-y rules, and really comes down to the main problem being the scoreboard displaying the wrong number of outs. And everyone involved, from the base runners and the fielders, just not knowing the number of outs. And as the inning ended, guys, you know, I'm lifting my head up and down, writing a story, looking down. The inning ended, and I'm thinking, that didn't quite feel right. Something felt a little off there, and they started to talk. I thought it would be 2 minutes. Carried over into today, and John Schneider said he asked Ross Atkins for a cash advance today just for not getting ejected. So proud of him, man. 10 minutes on the field, no ejected.
Yeah, that was true. He kept his composure. You could tell he was getting, like, the temperature was rising, and especially when he realized, okay, this run is gonna score. You know, like once you could tell the ump on the second time was explaining it to him and was like, it's a timing play. You know, they seem to have a beef that the umpires kind of brushed them off the field, and that's why they didn't, touch third. I don't know if there's any truth in that, Keegan, but in the end, I guess you can laugh about it because they survived and they won the game, right? Like in another universe, they lose that game last night, and then it's a completely different situation.
That would be a mess, man. But yeah, John Schneider wanted to get into it. He was getting that TSN red in the face, baby. He was almost matching the logo. But Chris Guccione even told him, apparently, like, if you want to get mad, go ahead. Like, it's okay to light me up. And Schneider told him, man, I've got like 2 relievers. I can't get kicked out right now. Like, we got to keep this together. So it's something they can laugh about now. Everyone will remember it next time they run into this. But messy, man, like deep in that rule book. And if you start to read the rule book, fellas, it's not a bedtime story. It is, it's like you're reading the terms and services on your iPhone or something. It's tricky. So they can enjoy it now. But if that had to flip the game, I mean, God, we're talking about that for a week.
How much opportunity is there right now for guys like we see Charles McAdoo last night get a home run? I think it's 5 games in a row for him with a home run going back to AAA. Like, is there a lot of opportunity for players to step up? And if you hit, you're going to play right now?
Hell yeah, man. Get back out there. I think McAdoo at leadoff. These are things I did not expect to cover this year. But the example I keep using, Frankie, is like, treat this like it's your 12 and under travel ball team, man. If a kid got 4 hits yesterday, play today. Okay, whoever has the hot hand, outside of, Vladdy and George Springer, they'll keep playing. But whoever's hot, go play. And if you're hot, you're going to bat 1 or 2, like we've seen with Charles McAdoo and Brett Bateman. I like that at this point. Chase the top-end outcome, because if you screw up, if this doesn't work, you were already not in the playoffs. Whatever. Doesn't matter if you missed by 5 games or 12 games. You missed the playoffs, you just missed them. Chase the hot hand. Go after the guy that's swinging a hot bat. Go off field at this point. Going off the numbers hasn't gotten you far, so go off field.
Yeah.
I like that. And it's going to encourage players. That's how you can get some momentum, where once a player gets a 2 for 4 day, you show up the next day knowing that you're going to get a shot to keep it rolling. That's contagious amongst young players. I really like it.
Absolutely. Why not? What are you waiting for, right? What are you saving it for at this point? Jay Sox tonight down at the Rogers Center. Great catching up with you, Keegan. Enjoy it tonight, buddy. We'll do it again soon.
You got it, fellas. Talk soon.
There he is, Keegan Matheson of MLB.com. Usual co-host on the show. Big part of TSN, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Schneider, he wanted to – it was so obscure last night that blowing up on the umpire when the umpire also is clearly just relaying something from New York.
Right.
You know, it would not have felt genuine if he blew up in that scenario. And they still had the lead, right? Like, it's still, yes, it was a run that felt unjust in a way. Yet, if the Red Sox knew how many outs there were, that guy on third was tagging and getting home anyway. It was going to be 2-1. And maybe you got lucky you got out of the inning as opposed to more runs going on the board. But it
also
was...
a rule is a rule, and you know, like, you can only argue it so much, but if it's written in the rule book, and it's funny, like, kind of seeing today some of the stuff on Twitter, whether it's written or podcast stuff from guys that played the game, like, it is a thing. Like, guys have experienced it, so how much are you really going to blow up? Just because you don't see it often doesn't mean that it can't be called. It clearly can be. It's just, it's buried deep in the bowels of the rule book.
Yeah, and it's very baseball that even though maybe the ump, I don't know if he saw him tag up or not. Like that, I never saw any clarification on that front. But even if they knew hey, that guy didn't tag up, you can't do anything. You know, it's like even if he knew the guy didn't touch second base, you know, it's on the defending team to see it and apply it and then rule it. Because that is another thing that if the rule book was turned upside down in a way, the ump could have made things very quick and just said, hey, dude, you didn't even tag up. You know, that's what feels so weird about it.
Yeah.
Like, it's a timing play. He scores, but he didn't tag up. You know, that was what was confusing about the whole thing.
At least this one's like an actual rule. Like, it's by the book. Remember when the Matt Duchene thing happened and he was like 10 feet offside, and now we have all these really ticky-tacky offside reviews, basically all stemming from that.
Yes.
And we've changed the way we operate in hockey. Like, baseball is not going to change the way they operate based on what happened in the Red Sox-Blue Jays game last night.
Right. They're exactly. It's so obscure, you know it's not going to happen for another 10 years.
And you're not going to change rules based on an obscurity.
Exactly. That was an embarrassment, the Matt Duchene one. Like, it was like the league was embarrassed. And they completely overcorrected to the point now where they're doing themselves damage. Like, it's so stupid to review an offside by a millimeter 45 seconds earlier on the other side of the ice that had nothing to do with anything.
Right.
It's so stupid.
A minute ago, the guy's blade was a half an inch over the line.
Yeah.
And so this whole thing is null and void. And honestly, man, sometimes we're in the booth and, like, our monitor's not huge. We're not watching the game on, like, a 60-inch TV in there. We're watching on, like, a monitor. Like, it's hard to tell. And you're, like, that's it. Like, you're given the exact same footage. It's crazy stuff, man.
It is tough. It is. All right, Best Bets coming up. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
Back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
Don't be shy, shy, shy. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la.
All right, Best Bets powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. I'm looking at Dylan Cease and a Dylan Cease prop tonight. So the prop is Dylan Cease outs recorded. The total's 18.5. You're getting plus money on the over. I'm taking it. I got him going into the 7th plus tonight. I got him racking up outs, racking up strikeouts tonight. I might parlay that actually with the over on the total strikeouts. I think that's at 7.5 as well. I just think he's so reliable, so like he's just cruising right now. And the Sox, you know, they've hit a bit of a rut here. You know, their offense doesn't really terrify anybody, especially Dylan Cease at home. So that's what I'm rolling with tonight. Best Bets powered by FanDuel. Same game parlays available for every MLB game on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly. 18 plus, physically located in Ontario. All right, there you go. Jays Sox
buddy.
Tonight. Love
it. As a Packers fan, are you terrified of Kyler Murray being the starting QB for the Vikings?
I'm not.
Does that do anything for
at
you?
all. No, it doesn't. I'm done betting on him, man. Like he's too small for me. He gets hurt too much. He likes video games too much. I think it's the right play. J.J. McCarthy.
He's been injured a lot, man.
Yeah, that guy's hurt too. And when he plays, it was a mess last year. You could tell they had no faith in him. I'm talking
He's not
his
ready
teammates.
yet.
And I don't know if he ever will be. Like he went to Michigan. Like he wasn't great at Michigan. It was a reach when they drafted him. It just wasn't. It wasn't the right pick. So Murray's the right play. KOC is the quarterback whisperer. He's done it before. I just think it's a tough division. I like the Lions and the Packers this year to make the playoffs. I'm not sure. I think the Bears will take a step back, and Vikings will be competitive, but I don't think they're a playoff team.
Yeah.
All right? There's my answer.
Not terrified.
Not that I've put any thought into it, which I have. All right, Frankie. Good stuff, man. Thanks for doing this, as always. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. We appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in today. TV, radio, podcast, web, up on YouTube Live, and streaming shortly up on Crave. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at
4 p.m.
We'll chat then.